Kevin, let's discuss your professional journey. You've worked at this retail institution for 33 years. How have things changed over 3 decades, and what have you learned at Bloomingdale's?
Oh my God.
Big question, right?
Big question. Things have, things have changed so much. Bloomingdale's has changed so much, but I always like to talk about my professional journey because I came to Bloomingdale's by accident. So I have a finance degree. I got out of school. I worked for a major bank in Chicago. I won't tell you who because I don't want to embarrass them. And I literally spent that first year crunching numbers and working with people that I've been with my entire life, the same guys I went to college with, the same guys I went to high school with. And it was so stagnant and it wasn't creative. And I was coming out of the closet and I needed a break. So I quit my banking job and I went to Europe for a couple of months. And I really if you go to those European department stores and see European fashion, and I was blown away. And so when I got back to Chicago, Bloomingdale's was opening its first store there. And I went to apply. I was one of the last people hired. Just to be a salesperson, I thought I'll just sling some suits until I get another banking gig. And I remember walking that first day and it was there was the guy struggling actor and there was the guy that wanted to be a designer. And then there was that guy who was a drag performer at night. And I was I found my people. And I was so happy. And so that's an important part of my journey because I feel since the day I've walked in that place, it's been about discovery and change for me. So throughout, I still pinch myself for being there for 33 years, but I've changed my role. I was in the stores. I was a buyer for a number of years. I think when you and I first met, I was probably the men's fashion director. Then I took over home. And then for the last 6 years, I've been lucky enough to take all these things that I love the most, whether it's the marketing or partnerships or great product, and make this incredible job.
I'm so happy to hear that. I did not know that about your start and where you started, and that was definitely one thing we wanted to get into. I think one thing that really transcends through your personality and your work, and I follow you on social media, and when you post, is the joy that you get out of your work. So that's really inspiring and great. So I just want to talk about your, responsibilities as VP of integrated marketing and at Bloomingdale's.
Yeah, it's like I said, I always pinch myself. It's a great gig, but what I do is I oversee the fashion office, the press team, the events team, partnerships, philanthropy, and the pop-ups like the carousel that you've seen. And I always say the best initiatives that we ever do are when when all 6 of those work streams come together and play a part of it. And back to the journey, I think one of the great things about Bloomingdale's is that we know that we keep evolving and we need to be relevant, and we have this great history, but more importantly, it's about the future and how can you be what's next and how can people discover things and things like that. So to me, this is the greatest gig to make all those initiatives come to life.
I know, it's so exciting when you can find a way to have all those different creative aspects of yourself converge under one umbrella.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Often overwhelmed, but never bored.
Okay. Well said. So Bloomingdale's just celebrated a 150-year milestone. I mean,
incredible,
huge.
Right?
Incredible. I was there at that party.
I know you were. Looking chic.
We had a time. So what was that like, celebrating that milestone? How was that process for you?
You know what? I will tell you, it was probably one of the most rewarding things in my career. And when you can say, if you've been with an institution this long and you still have these moments where you're pinching yourself, this was one of them. But I think, again, we have such this incredible history, but we wanted to play in the future. So you were at the party and we played about the icons and we had Jack Harlow performing, and all that was really important to me because I was, we had people who performed 50 years ago or,
right.
or things like that. And it was really shepherding and my boss was an incredible supporter of this, but really shepherding everyone to like, let's do things that people are going to talk about, that it's going to position us for the future. Proud of our past. Let's give a nod to our past, but let's make it about the merchandise, the events, who's the performer, things like that. I've never worked so hard in my life. I'll tell you one other funny story, and you probably remember this. The day before the event, the Queen Elizabeth died.
Oh my goodness!
And running press, I was like, "Shit, it's gonna be." And I had the time, all these stories coming out. The next day.
I literally messaged you and was like, I remember that. I was like, "Wow, right."
Yes,
very
yes.
tough.
But the good thing, and it just talks about Bloomingdale's being in the cultural stream, yes, is that Queen Elizabeth came to Bloomingdale's 50 years ago when she came to New York for her only trip to New York, and every paper ran the picture of her at Bloomingdale's that next day. And I was like, I tripled the press impressions that we thought we were going to get. But but again, it just talks about the rich history of the brand and also all the opportunity.
Also being good at what you do and remaining sharp. I mean, like, the fact that you were able to take that unfortunate moment and make it something special at a very important time is really remarkable. And that's what I think is so fascinating about your tenure at Bloomingdale's. Having a 33 career at an institution like Bloomingdale's and keeping things fresh is really important. How do you keep things fresh? How do you evolve?
Well, first I'm going to clarify. I had nothing to do with the Queen dying.
Right.
But you know what? I am surrounded by incredible people. And I think one of the good things about Bloomingdale's it's a great thing about Bloomingdale's. There's people that have been there for decades, that know the brand, that they know the history, that they have this great respect. But we really, really have made this conscious effort to bring different voices in and make sure, like when we were doing this 150th, we would have think tanks and we would have like people that were just new to the company for a year sitting in the room with people who had been with the company for 30 years. And it was just important to hear everybody and get ideas and things like that. And I always say some of my best ideas I've stolen from the intern class the summer before, and things like. And I'm proud to say that, but it's really about getting those voices, and it does help you stay relevant, and it's about guided discovery and finding that next thing. And let's face it, the kids are out there. They know what's going on.
They know what's up. They know what's up. Well, that leads me to ask you how important, of course it is, but how important is leadership and mentorship in these roles and picking a team. And that goes to say so much about your professional growth. It's the folks around you.
I think it's so important. And I've actually made this, my resolution for 2023 was, now that this gala's over and the 150th, that I've spent so much time on the merchandise and the parties and stuff like that. I really just want to spend the next few years doing all this great stuff, but making a very conscious effort to mentor and give back through our, I'm lucky because I control the checks for the philanthropy,
right on.
Things like that. But just how do we really give back, and how do you mentor, and how do you really get these great leaders? I love, right now, some of the best people in the industry, started their careers at Bloomingdale's, but I just see all these, I get a kick. I get so flattered when I get a knock at the door and it's like a buying trainee and they're like, Mr. Hart, I'm like, stop. Okay, first of all, this is what you call me. You call me by my first name. But they'll ask me for advice or mentor. Or they'll tell me they want to be on my team or things like that. And that's actually probably the better thing, because I have this incredible, I'm not just saying this, out of all my years at Bloomingdale's, I have the best team I've ever had. And we've put together this like great energy. And in this industry, it's all about keeping that it's all about keeping that good energy.
Yeah, you spend so much time together in business that it's really great when you've cultivated that, support with your team.